Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of October 10th. I'm Ryan Miller, and glorious Matt Amberg is with me today.
Yes, I am.
Silent as always, just a complete wall of response.
I just don't know what to say anymore.
People were starting to doubt you were even. They were like, "Oh, this is the one where he goes the whole show without any actual person on the other line." But no, Matt Amber.
I could be the J.K. Simmons in this situation. It's true.
You were.
That's
you
true.
were the other bathroom stall attendant. No, what is occupant?
Occupant.
Yeah, okay.
We occupy the same bathroom.
We do. And this month, that bathroom is Octoberween, everybody. So if you haven't tuned in for the scary movies this time around, then you've only missed one so far, and it's out. Go back. You can check it out. Nothing's stopping you. It'll be up forever if I have anything to say about it.
That's right. And we do. We have everything to say. We are copyright today.
Yeah, we had a good 40 minutes of something to say about...
We're all going to the World's Fair.
Yes, it's amazing how quickly I forget every movie every week. It's, the three levels upon which memory operates. I don't have any of those. So we're all going to the World's Fair. Early frontrunner, I'm going to say. Good luck beating We're All Going to the World's Fair this month, Matt.
But we're going to have to try.
Okay, you're going to try with Glorious today? Matt, by the way, chooses, for the most part, these October wieners. So stay tuned. He's got two more ringers.
No, we're not doing Stay Tuned. We already did that. You can go back and listen to the episode we did on Stay Tuned.
That's true. Good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much of a wiener, but a winner.
A winner, nonetheless. There we go.
So, on Book Club for Movies, we do take one movie a week, and we talk about it. You can do the same. You can find us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com and Facebook and Twitter.
I found you.
And Patreon, where for money, we'll do even more.
Yeah, or anything.
Anything for money. That's the tagline. Remember when we had rotating taglines on the, I don't know how to say it, on the website?
I do.
Yeah, this is fun.
Dude, great times.
I might still be, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think I could do that on this one if I wanted to. It just reads Book Club for Movies permanently now because the template we chose didn't have, like, it was just the logo.
Thing,
I had to do so. Okay, all right, well, I'll look into that. Matt, my gosh, Glorious, you're going to have to do a lot maybe for this one because it's pretty new. You could start with a synopsis, and I guess we'll see where we go from there.
Let's go from there. I think that's a great choice. Let's try it. For the movie Glorious, and out coming at you an hour and 19 minutes, written by Joshua Hall and David Ian McKendry, directed by Rebecca McKendry, starring Ryan Quanten, J.K. Simmons, Sylvia Grace Krim, Andre Lamar. Here is your Book Club for Movies synopsis for Octoberween's second film, Glorious! Recently single Wes finds himself stuck in a rest stop bathroom with a voice in the next stall claiming he might be the key to stopping a terrible event.
Couldn't say much more than that, could you?
Yeah, I mean, I could, but it would give everything away or nothing away. I don't know.
I don't know that I know either. Matt, where did you pick up? I mean, I saw this was a Shudder original, so I'm going to guess perhaps through those channels, in fact, you came upon this.
The literal channel, it's true, yes. I turned that channel on, and then it was on, and I went, oh. No, this came to me, honestly, through, it was a straight up, somebody saw it at a festival, again, mentioned J.K. Simmons is a toilet monster, and I went, what? And I said, yeah,
Not incorrect.
And and then I said, what sentence? What part of that sentence is something that I don't want to see? Nothing. So,
that's the elevator pitch that they sold the thing on. I'm thinking J.K. Simmons, toilet monster,
and people went, sold.
Here's your funding. Yeah.
Here's a couple $100,000.
So it wasn't. See, that's the thing. There's not a lot about how this movie got made. It's relatively new, but also that information isn't out there. When this happens, normally I just go to YouTube and search the movie and then look at like some of the press junket stuff. Couldn't even find any of that. So I don't know if this was like beginning to end a Shudder produced thing or if Shudder picked it up somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I don't actually know.
It's probably out there, just buried so deep that I'll be maybe a little spoilery honest also. I don't know that I was that invested in finding out. So
That's fair.
Take that for what you will. I do want you to start, though, as far as this movie goes. What, I assume you saw it before you suggested we do it for the show.
Of course. This one I chose partially because it was new. I kind of wanted to do something a little fresh, a little different. But I wanted to do something different. That was just, it was quick. It's a small movie. I think that even if you don't dig it, I think that the concept and the idea, I think there's a nugget there that's really fun and interesting. And, maybe they don't execute on it the way you might want to see it. I liked how it kind of fell into this weird sci-fi otherworldly thing that then turns itself, and then we get the double twist at the end with figuring out what Wes, Ryan Quanten's character, what he actually is and why he is. So it works for me in all those respects. I think it's a solid idea. But yeah, I mean I don't know what else to say to you. I don't know what you want, I guess.
Okay. Well, you mentioned how it does kind of dip into the sci-fi stuff. There was a moment, because the movie begins with him pulling off at a rest stop. He's pretty distressed. I think we find out pretty quick he's broken up with a girl, or we could at least surmise. Broken up with a girl, quote unquote, and is very distraught. Tries to call her on the phone, doesn't work, throws his phone. So there goes that avenue of communication for the movie. And then drinks himself into a stupor, passes out, and then has like maybe a vision where like if you see any of the key art for the movie, it's very purple. Like this purple light begins to descend upon him. And I do have in my notes,
it's the color out of space.
Yeah, if the color out of space starts happening here, I might have to reevaluate my feelings on the movie so far. But I don't know in which direction. Still unsure about the color out of space altogether. Go listen to that show. Was that just last year?
That was, and it was excellent, by the way. That's how you felt about it. You felt it was excellent.
Okay. So, yes, it turns out to be a cosmic horror movie, I think, technically. A little eldritchy in there, too. There's some tentacles and whatnot. It doesn't have any... I'm not so steeped in eldritch horror that I could tell you what exactly it's drawing from. I just kind of know some of what I've seen.
We're talking about outer space and tentacles. You're as eldritch as you get.
Okay.
Come on.
So, but yeah, up until... and possibly a little past that, I don't know how sold I was on it. It is a little low budget, but not in the way that I was kind of like into it. You're like, okay, they're trying. Like I'm trying not to. It's a stupid idea that I would be punching down at any point, because we're talking about accomplished people that have made something way better than anything I've ever made.
Yeah, you're not punching down. We're criticizing.
Sure,
it's opinion. Okay. You're allowed to say you hate it and it sucks. It's okay.
It just came off a little low budget in a bad way.
It doesn't look low budget. Okay, it doesn't look low budget. The visuals to me don't look low budget. It looks like it's a very simple area, so I'll give it that. But I feel like your low budget issue is that it's just not good. Like it doesn't...
No. I'm talking about just the beginning too. I think you're probably right. There was nothing technically about the look. It doesn't look like it was made on a Handycam or something.
No. But
it looks good, but kind of in the way that anything looks good now, because we just got the cameras. These people have made a movie. They've been given a budget, and then they made a movie. But so it's I hear what you're saying. I think it was actually mostly the performances. Ryan Quanten, who is kind of the performance at the very beginning, it's a bit, I don't know, it didn't land perfectly for me for I think what he was going for. Again, that distraught, broken up, whatever. The rest of the movie, I think he's fine and great, but it was just that beginning stuff that I was like, okay, this is kind of a weird foot to start on, I think, for me.
Agreed. No, it's the whole bit with him at the beginning with the breakup and him being distraught is very there's a lot of it that feels really forced.
Yeah, which totally, again, I feel bad for even saying it. Like, he's doing a better job than I would in every aspect.
Yeah, that's not. We're not comparing.
I know.
You.
I'm a bad critic.
You are really awful at this. It's not saying he's a bad guy or he hasn't done other good things. At the beginning of this movie, it feels forced. He is
Okay,
not
yeah,
he is
yeah.
not a strong actor selling what he's trying to sell here. That could be a combination of the script, him, and the director. It could just be him. It's probably more him than anything. But I also can't say, you know, the director felt that was good and that was the way to go with it. So there's also, you've got to say something about the choice and direction on those moments, you know.
Yeah,
especially,
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
Especially when you do get into, like, once he's in the bathroom for the remainder of the movie, I actually think he does sell a mass majority of it really well. Like,
yes.
So it begs the question, like, that early stuff, I feel like probably was shot right away, was the very first few days on set. And then he got to spend the rest of his time in one little area and it was go, you know?
It would make sense. I bet the latter half of the movie took a lot more money and time and all that stuff. They could have done the beginning of the movie in a day, really, if they wanted to.
Probably,
you know?
yeah. I mean, it was, especially if they're just like, the only thing we've got to do here is come out here in the middle of the night and burn something without anybody seeing it.
Right. I think you're right, though. I think I shouldn't give Ryan Kwanten all of the blame. It does feel like there could have been, even with some editing, a little bit too. Like, and this is me being very, very picky. Also, you got to give me that.
I give it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Every time.
There are times, especially when I'm watching a movie. In fact, we'll talk about another one for the rest of the show where I kind of have the same issue. But where even just they do like the same motion twice. Like if he's cold, he gives like 2 shivers instead of 1. I'm like, I get it after 1 shiver. You know, like I understand what's happening. There were just a few too many of the belaboring the very small point before cutting to the next thing, moving on to the next thing. But also, if the beginning was any tighter, it would probably be only about a minute long, is my other thing. I'm not sure how necessary it was altogether once we get into the room. They do tie it back, obviously, to his relationship, and we'll talk about that twist. But I think a lot of that work could have been done in the stall, so to speak.
So to speak. Yeah, I think I can't disagree on that either. Yeah, I do think the movie starts a little slow with that. And yeah, it probably could have either been cut down significantly or, yeah, filled out further when he's, you know, in the bathroom. But, you know, I guess at that point, then the movie becomes 40 minutes long and
it's already pretty short.
And
too,
it's barely an hour and 20 or whatever. So, yeah.
And honestly, we've talked around the non-spoilery stuff enough for my taste, really. So from here on out, if you don't want to know what Glorious is about, I guess it's one of those that probably doesn't affect all that much. Because again, it is mostly J.K. Simmons playing an Eldritch God in a restroom stall versus Ryan Kwanten. So kind of still entertaining.
And it's not really even a versus thing. It's more of a
versus like they're playing off each other. You're
yes,
right. They're not like,
in that respect, yes. So the concept of this movie goes completely bananas and off the rails, where we find out that this voice that has been talking to him is a god is a demigod who is hiding out from his godfather, because he was created specifically to destroy humanity, but he kind of likes humanity and he thinks humanity's kind of novel and he doesn't really want to destroy them. So he's hiding from his dad, and he needs one thing to get away and to ascend to this like next level of whatever, so he can
to return to the ether. Yeah.
To the return to the ether, yes. He needs some kind of a sacrifice. And then throughout the film, that's what we're breaking down is, what does he need? What does Ryan Kwanten need? What does he want? He's trying to get out. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And so it becomes this back and forth between, can you do what's right for everybody, or can you only do what for yourself? And
Wes is resistant. Sorry, Wes is Ryan Kwanten's character's name.
Yes, Wes
is resistant because he's kind of portrayed as a sad sack. His girl has dumped him, we think, because
we're told
visually, I guess, at least.
Yeah,
there's some trickery going around.
We don't get the twist until the very, very end. It's the very end when he's dying.
But also to the point where I don't know that I'm into. I'm not in. I'm just going to talk about it because these are the notes
it's stupid.
I got.
Go.
The twist being that he murdered her because she found his box full of pictures of other girls he had murdered.
Right, but he really liked her.
Yes, it does appear that he was broken up, but this is the thing that didn't really mesh. Not that I'm to give criticism. I have a real problem with criticism this time. To serial killers.
No, you're not doing great today.
But it kind of goes against all of those serial killer, let's say at least archetypes that you have. Like there's not a whole lot of sad sack serial killers out there. They're power tripping, megalomaniacs and the like.
But this is a guy who has a compulsion and he executes on it. And he's literally and figuratively, he's probably got some, mental. He's probably depressed. He's probably got a little bipolar.
Some mental issues.
And he was really in love with this girl, and then she found his stuff, and then he has to murder her. And he's like, "Well, I was doing all the killing because the pills weren't working, and now I had to kill you, and I really liked you, and I'm upset about it."
But see, you're doing a better job. Like your literal portrayal and talking it out is I think, a better. And I know why they didn't. They had to do it for the twist. Like if he had not been that guy for the entire movie, especially, it wouldn't have worked between him and Simmons. That the whole convincing him to sacrifice what he needed to sacrifice. So I get it. But yeah, I would have preferred your performance in a way. There's like none of the power behind the eyes, none of the terror behind the eyes of a serial killer.
Well, what I think doesn't, I don't know. It feels like the beginning almost undermines the twist, and because when you think anything about the beginning, like, so because they don't, we're supposed to give him pathos because he's sad, so we're throughout the whole movie we're like, oh no, and then at the end we're supposed to go, oh well, I mean, good.
How close does it get to your issue with Do Revenge and I Care a Lot?
Oh, this isn't even close to those.
Right. Because by the end, when we find out,
this doesn't play on something else that it then just backs off of completely or undermines really hardcore. This is just a Shyamalan-esque twist that just doesn't work. It's
like late era Shyamalan twist. Even.
Yeah, it's definitely a happening as opposed to a Lady in the Water.
I mean, boy.
Yeah.
Yes, and these might seem like all small things. I'm willing to admit they're all small things because I think when the movie gets down to it, and it's Ryan Quanten, I will say, even the actor, and J.K. Simmons playing off each other, pretty good, pretty darn well written. Like I never got bored with the back and forth.
The dialogue
seems pretty tight as far as that goes.
Yeah.
So none of that. It's just some of these things around the edges. And I will say, my last even critique, very little of the humor landed for me.
Oh, yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, the humor was not great.
So, and that might be neither here nor there, but it is playing, it's not playing in a color out of space, which is a very somber film, you could say, apart from some moments of levity that aren't anyways, color out of space, go listen to the show.
All that cool stuff with llamas that happened, it's so funny and joyful.
But yeah, this very much puts some of that at the front, and yeah, a lot of it didn't land for me, so take that for what you will.
You take that.
I feel like I've bombed on the thing too much, and you certainly didn't bring it into the show to do that. So what do you like more about this, or what would you say to me, a non-believer in a way, you've done it before, turn me around?
No, this is not one where I think I'm trying to turn you around on. I think this movie is I think you've nailed it for you, and that's cool. Like, it is what it is. I like the movie as a whole. I think that it's a really fun concept, and I love I love the joke at the end. Which, I'm not going to spoil, but the joke about J.K. Simmons needs a sacrifice and he attempts to give the sacrifice. He goes, you're an idiot. I need a piece of your liver. And then he's got to carve out his liver, and then the weird, like all of that. I love
when it gets gory. I don't imagine anybody's going to be disappointed.
No, I again, the concept I think is really there. It's a nugget of an idea that really I think it spirals pretty well, and I do think it snowballs pretty well.
It is well paced, actually. Yeah, totally. I'll give you that.
but it is not, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Am I going to watch Glorious a bunch of times? No, probably not. This is not, but did I really enjoy watching it? And would I ask other people to watch it? Oh yeah, totally, man. Go watch this. It is, if for nothing else, to hear J.K. Simmons talk about humanity in the third person as an alien, it's up there with like, just, I always want to hear J.K. Simmons talking about stuff. I want more Portal 2 J.K. Simmons. Give me that and I'll be happy.
All his deliveries are spot on. Like, I wouldn't, did he ever have to reread any of the lines? I wouldn't be surprised if the answer was no.
I imagine he just sat there with his phone, read the script out loud the first time he got it, and then sent it off and was like, that's great. Give me my money.
And some of the ways he plays those lines are beautiful. Like the first part of the conversation might be my absolute favorite, because he's like kind of asking these weird questions about understanding humanity, and some of the phraseology that Wes uses is foreign to him, and he asks these funny questions. It's played so well. He never, I would say he never gets angry. He does get angry at certain times, but the rest is played in a very even tone, or even jovial J.K. Simmons type way. And of course, I tell you what I did like. I did like at the very end, even though I wasn't so sold on the twist because of the portrayal of the serial killer and all that, Wes, who was in the process fooling himself into thinking that he was a hero of some sort for saving the universe, is in the process of dying because he gave him his liver, or a part of his liver. Was it the whole thing?
It's the whole thing.
Might have been the whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, he does
you do see it. Yeah,
he cuts himself out, and then there's the tentacle thing. Yeah,
tentacle does the job. But as he's dying,
book club for movies, tentacle does the job.
J.K. Simmons is like, no, Wes, we. Speaking of him, again, J.K. Simmons, this entity that was designed to destroy humanity, and Wes, this turns out serial killer, says, no, Wes, me and you are not heroes. We are beings of destruction. And
we're better off being being gone or whatever.
Something, yeah. It is good.
So that, I think, is the thing that clinches the movie for me, though. It makes, and that's what those stupid movies that I hate didn't do.
Yeah, I didn't think it would reach those depths either. It's not like that reveal really ruins
No, but it's
the good that comes before it, but it does kind of emphasize the bad, I think, that I mentioned already. So,
and that's fair, and I can go with that, but I think it also totally sells the whole movie for me. Like, in total, like, that is the perfect wrap up for that story. We'll never see Glorious 2, Gloriouser, because it doesn't need to happen. It's that the story is done.
I agree. It doesn't. Whether or not we will ever see it, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
But gotcha. It's like, it puts a nice bow tie on the story, and I do really love that the movie ends on a positive note, but is dour for the main character. It's a terrible note for him. He dies horribly. We go, oh man, he sucked. And he really sucked, and we live. Humans live, and God, it's awesome. I'm glad you died and we lived, you idiot.
And there's some other kind of nice work when he starts yelling about his dad and talking about the past life he had, and the bathroom walls start to crack, and that's when J.K. Simmons' dad starts to come through the wall. So there's some additional work there that might be kind of nice and a little bit more subtle. One of the more subtle things in the movie.
There's plenty of thematic stuff in here and subtle imagery that I think does give legs to a lot of what's going on. But again,
see, that's where I would draw the line. I would say it doesn't necessarily give legs to anything. I think it kind of becomes a one-off thing, or isn't necessarily absolutely woven into the fabric of the film. But it was not. It's something a little more, certainly.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, it fills out further. So I have and this is where you and I often diverge, where I am big into trying to expand what the idea of the movie is in my head. So I create headcanon. Whereas for a lot of this stuff, it's like, you definitely view it. You're viewing it more along, this is what I'm given.
Does the movie justify it? Yeah.
And you're in these cases, you're always correct. Because my stuff is all up here and just makes the movie good for me. Which is
I don't even know if I believe that, but I'll take it.
I don't think you should ever let me choose movies again.
I mean, yours is the easier way because I have to find and pay attention and figure stuff out. No, that's not true because you do the same thing. It's just you create something with it, whereas I destroy. I'm a being of destruction.
Oh my gosh, we are yin and yang.
Look at that. All right. Glorious. I would still give it 5 stars, though.
Out of 11.
So,
Teen.
there you go. The second wiener of the season. I can't wait to find out what the third is. I'm always interested in the third wieners. I feel like there's just something about them. Matt.
The tri-ween.
What's the third wiener going to be?
The third wiener, I told you, I threatened this. And whenever I threaten things, that's a promise.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I told you that we were going to revisit a director earlier this year, just prior to Halloween, the Octoberween. I mentioned we during the In a Valley of Violence episode that we would be revisiting Mr. Ty West, one of my I love this director. Fantastic director.
He's having a moment right now too, yeah.
And we're going to go back to one of his older films. I am so excited to show this to you. This is a good quality ghost story called The Innkeepers.
Nice.
It is.
I do remember this. I remember you mentioning it.
Yes, I have mentioned this using my mouth hole before, but I've never mentioned that you could watch it. It's on Freevee, it's on Plex, it's on Tubi, and it's on Peacock. So the movie is out there available for you. It's called The Innkeepers, came out in 2011. It stars Sarah Paxton, Pat Healy, and the great Kelly McGillis, baby.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Kelly McGillis, she's great. She's so cool in this movie. She's great. You're going to love it.
Huh. That'll be fun. Okay,
Written and directed by Ty West. The Innkeepers.
All right. So come back next week for The Innkeepers. Stay here this week for the rest of the show. We've got a couple more to talk about. I certainly do. Especially for this might be record amount of time that we've spoken about the main show here. So I could even bring a third movie in, but I have at least 2. You want me to begin or follow?
Oh, I will follow you. Okay. I will follow you wherever you may go.
Wherever I may go. I'm going to the movie you recommended. We watched as a family, Umma.
Oh, yes, Umma.
Yeah, a little spooky, a little ghosty.
Yeah, Sandra Oh.
Sandra Oh, I'm doing a good job acting in this spooky movie.
Spooky movie. What'd you think? What'd you think?
It's good. It's good. There's moments where I think it could have used an even lighter touch than it gives. There's this tendency, I feel like, with some movies, especially digitally, to literally show the thing on screen. And Umma, when it's not, when it's being spooky and atmospheric, is pretty good. So in the moments where it like literally flashes she's thinking about her mom. So I can't remember exactly what it is, but it'll like superimpose, and not in like a freaky, scary way, although I guess it might be haunting, but will literally put something on screen. And I'm like, I don't like the gold standard to me is that, oh gosh, the Wall Street sequel where they would literally like superimpose some of the dead characters they were talking about on the screen at some point. And I'm like, didn't need it. Understood what was happening. So Umma's got a few moments of that, not as many.
Umma and Wall Street 2, same movie.
Same thing. Because like I said, when it is doing the spooky thing, it's actually pretty darn good at it. Yeah, it's cool. And the line that it draws between, because Sandra Oh is trying not to become her mother. Again, we've got another Asian mom that makes me worry about Asian daughters, just generally speaking. It's been a few, man. Crazy Rich Asians... Turning red, right?
Red, yeah. Like every martial arts movie with a daughter, there's that whole.
Yeah, in fact, you're reminding me of one I haven't seen, but read and heard enough about, the Everything Everywhere All at Once. Right?
There's also that entire movie. Yes, is very much so.
Add Umma to the list. We've got a mom that didn't do a great job bringing up her daughter in some key ways that haunt her daughter for the rest of her life. And that, like, when it's dealing specifically with that stuff, which is the main thrust of the film, the main thematic material that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Very good. Very cool. Draws some very cool visual and thematic lines, because it's a rough one. Like, not many movies, in fact, that I can think of deal that way with trauma, especially when it's familial trauma, mental illness that can come with it, etc. All that stuff. Not a lot of movies that do that in a really good way, I would say. And this is one of them. So,
and it's one of the reasons I think Beth really, she said she kind of was drawn to it as well, because of the dementia aspect that comes along with certain age and stuff, and something that she's terrified of. It's something that runs in her family, and she's horrified of that coming true. So
she's horrified of becoming her mother. Yeah, it wraps up real nice too. Like there's a very cool conversation that she gets to have with her the encroaching spirit of her mother. It seems they never quite address, because this is the thing. Sandra Oh, this character, is probably actually having mental breaks. Like does need some sort of treatment, psychological or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go as far as to be like, oh, now she's in treatment and everything's getting better. Like, there is a catharsis. The conversation she gets to have with her mother's spirit is very well written, very cathartic. Like, loved it. But it isn't followed up by any, because that's the main. It's like either she is haunted by the ghost of her mother's past, or ghosts are real. So either she has mental issues.
Well, but why can't it be both?
It is, yes.
I mean to be no, like even just not even jokingly, that absolutely, they're not mutually exclusive. And I think that's kind of the point, is that she is haunted by her mother's ghost, who is an actual ghost, and that's why, and she probably is having considerable mental problems because of it. But they're not like, I don't think it's manifesting fakely for her or anything like that. The movie is about her coming to grips with all those things, and then she can face them literally on her. Like, that's the metaphor. She's finally getting to stand up and face the problem, which was her mother, and the things that she needed to say to her, which then lets her move on and lets her. So I don't know that we need more after that, but that's, again.
See, this is actually a great example of you turning me around, fixing the problem here, because I think if they had done maybe what I'm hinting at, I'd probably like it a whole lot less. Like there's moments where she's literally drug underground. They show images of that. In fact, that might be where the conversation where her mother happens. But the question of whether or not she was actually ever drugged, because if she was physically drugged underground to the grave, then ghosts are real, and this is like an actual horror movie. If that didn't happen, then we're still talking about psychological representations and stuff like that. They don't answer that question. And now that I've heard you talk about it, thankfully, I'll say they didn't answer that question. So,
boom!
You're right. Yeah, good stuff.
Nailed it.
Yeah, almost good.
I'll meet you halfway with something that was pretty okay. I watched Bodies.
I saw you asking about this on Twitter. Seems like you found
somebody
else, people that recommended it, or
no, somebody else asked about it, and we watched it a couple weeks ago actually, but somebody else asked about it and was trying to figure out if they can recommend it, because it's a very weird movie. So, like, number one, first thing you have to know going into Bodies, this is not what it was advertised as.
I was gonna say, the trailer, I found nothing to grab onto, really. Like, no idea what was going on here. Like,
so
it's Pete Davidson, so I kind of shrugged that off as, here we go again, I guess. But
it did a poor job of it just made it sound like it was going to be a slasher movie of some type, but it's not that at all. The movie actually is okay. So
hard to describe after the fact too.
It's not. It's not at all. I'm just trying to figure out the right way to phrase it, because there's a good way of putting this.
You may spoil it if you wish.
Yeah. But it's not even it's not about that. It's totally just trying to describe what it actually is. There's a way to do it, and
I already said it's a Pete Davidson movie, so I don't. Does he die within the first 5 minutes?
Not within the first 5 minutes, but within the first 20 or so. Yeah.
Does. So it's no Suicide Squad, but it's somewhere within 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, it's close. What Bodies isn't is a slasher. It's not a murder. Like, it's not there's not somebody killing the kids. It's not that. Bodies is a murder mystery focused on those teenagers, or I shouldn't say teenagers because they're all actually young. They're supposed to be young adults. So they're just adults. I should just say adults. People, whatever.
Bodies.
Pete Davidson's. And then girl Pete Davidson is, anyways.
Machine Gun Kelly's.
Machine Gun, like. Those guys. Yeah, the whatever. The movie is a murder mystery that is really focused more around who can you not like the idea of social currency almost, and then who your friends really are, and what when the ish goes down, who's gonna drop and say, oh dude, no, you are the problem. It's you. Like it's 100% you. I've never thought, who are those people, and how quickly that happens within where people will immediately turn on another. So the movie is really that. And there's a couple of bloody spots here and there. I will tell you that the end of the movie, if you want the spoiler for it, I will provide it to you.
Yeah, go for it.
The end of the movie does end almost exactly as Beth and I both thought. We thought about it right away. We were like, if the movie does this, we are going to kind of laugh because it's maybe the most obvious thing. So it's a group of people getting together that haven't seen, or that that are good friends, and then one of the older friends brings a new partner with her to the party, and there's a whole bunch of tension where clearly this older friend is not like there was a falling out, and maybe she doesn't realize how bad it is, and so there's like a little bit of
animosity.
That's the word.
Yep, I felt it coming.
Thank you. There's a bunch of animosity between everybody, and then Pete Davidson is found murdered outside. And then the whole movie is who killed him. And it kind of follows that. And then there's some betrayals and whatnot. But then, of course, the end of the movie, we get to see the video cameras at the house. And we find out he was outside. And I don't remember what he was playing with. It was like a sword. He has like a scimitar or something. And he's like, nice. He's like he's swinging things around. He's swinging it around. And he seriously like cuts his own head off. Like, like he kills himself. And
okay, so I can see that would be an interesting meditation,
and it works
if they pull it off. Do they pull that off?
And I'll say it works in the sense that, like, when you see it, you go, totally yes. I will say a good chunk of the movie actually does work, and something that I did not know, which makes me want to go back and rewatch it, was that apparently a bunch of it was improv. So that is also probably which was mentioned on Twitter as well. Maybe its strength, but also its weakness.
Well, that automatically means you need to go at it. I mean, we kind of talked about this before, but you got to go at it with a different mindset. It's like the show I just watched, Murder City, maybe?
Yes, the one with Will Arnett, yeah.
Murderville, maybe.
Murderville.
Yeah, same thing. If you just click that on Netflix without not even understanding the premise, but understanding what improv comedy, like why it's funny sometimes, I would imagine you're going to have a rougher time. So
yeah, okay. And I mean, it doesn't come off that way, but knowing that that's what made the final cut and that defined the movie makes me want to go back and rewatch it to see.
Oh, so you didn't know about that till after the fact?
I didn't know it till well after the fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the movie is fine. I mean, it's nothing that's lighting the world on fire, but it was a fun murder mystery. And if you ignore the spoiler I just gave you, which kind of does suck maybe the fun out of the movie.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, because it becomes a meditation then you're right, on social constructs and whatever, like that group of friends and all that stuff. So when I was saying, does the movie land it? I was talking about not so much that reveal at the end, but does it still make like it's not another I Care a Lot situation where you find out that at the end and you're like, oh, what the heck was all that I watched then? Like, there's still value to
I love that is now becoming a barometer for us. We've got 0 to I Care a Lot, or I Care a Lot to 10, whatever. Like,
it's true. It's not an all or nothing proposition.
It's an I Care a Lot proposition or not.
It's a nothing, yeah.
But no, it lands a good chunk of it, I would say.
Okay.
But again, I want to go back and rewatch it, knowing what I know now. because again, it's same thing with like anything that's a murder mystery. You know, every time you find out the ending or the solution, for me anyways, I always want to go back and watch it again to see how did they get there? What did I miss? Because they always give you the recap, but I want to see it.
Do you think you missed? Like, do you think this is a movie that will pay off in that way? Do you think you missed some clues?
Not in that respect, no. Because again, we called it at the beginning. We were like, "This is too stupid of a concept." He killed himself somehow. Like, we don't know how he did it, but he definitely did it. So
okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts after the second time. Also,
I'll tell you.
The other movie I told you I was already watching, The Conjuring 2. I finished it. Man, so we talked about The Conjuring 1. We had done a show on The Conjuring 1, actually, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we did. Oh, thanks you for the applause. You're killing flies over there, I imagine. Just, I can see them on screen. There's a cloud of them around your head at all times.
Jeez. Or, you know,
it's only a few.
Just remind, you clearly don't remember the clap game. I don't know.
We did. I'm pretty certain we did a show on
we did.
For one of these wieners. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So, loved it. And loved it because, in fact, it might have been my first experience that I knew of with James Wan. Actually, now I'm not sure if I saw
Aquaman.
Yeah, did we watch that after Aquaman? That might have been my first. Actually, no. I think I watched the Upgrade. Thank you. He was involved with Upgrade. It's in some way, wasn't he?
I think he produced it, maybe.
Okay, so that might have been my first, but
because it was definitely directed by the Australian guy that he worked with that created Saw. And I can't. His name is just escaping me right now. It's James Wan.
Lee Wanell.
Yeah,
that is also the name I was searching for. Even though I probably was really searching for Logan Marshall Green, the star of the thing.
LMG baby.
Upgrade's fantastic. Let me tell you.
Yeah, watch that movie.
No, the Conjuring 1 I liked so much. I did end up showing it to my daughter. It's a movie that was rated R for no other reason than the censors just felt that it should be. You know, like there's no language, there's no gore. I don't think even. It's just they watched it and they were like,
"This is scary."
You're kind of shaking your head. I don't think gore, like in the traditional sense.
Oh no! I was agreeing with you. I was going.
Okay.
I can't remember any. No.
Yeah, no. It's just so scary looking, and some of those images and the way it's filmed. Like Juan is like. He is maybe the next Wes Craven, because this is, in fact, we'll talk about this. I watched the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I'm halfway through it, but I could probably render an opinion at this point.
No. Yeah, I will happily talk to you about that as much as you want.
We might have time this show, but he is so good at just those scary images, like just those things. And I watched The Conjuring 2 with the eye towards, can I also show this to my daughter? And maybe just for that first 20 minutes with that nun and the painting that they do, and nothing happens. Okay, a few things happen, but they're not gross even. They're just so freaky.
They're disturbing, right?
It's disturbing. My gosh. But they're even when he shows the actual nun, like scary nun, which I've forgotten her name already.
Her name is Valak.
Valak, thank you. The demon Valak. It's still not as disturbing as he paints a painting of Valak without kind of knowing that she's going to figure in or how she's going to figure in first. And that painting hangs in a room, which is always one of the fun things about the Conjuring movies I've come to notice, is that all these completely scary and terrifying items are just around the house in one way or the other, or being produced. And yeah.
But that's my favorite part is these things are actively being produced by people. Like, there you go.
But he hangs it on the wall, and Vera Farmiga has just a moment where she's just looking closely at it, and the camera is kind of looking with her. It's not a point of view or anything, but she's just looking closely at it, turning the light on and off to be like, is this? And I'm sure obviously they're exchanging footage of a real person behind or something, right? Like at some point it is actually somebody present in the room,
sure.
But the way they play it and switch the light on and off, you just can't tell. And again, nothing happens. There's no jump scare even. But just that moment right there, I'm like, I don't know if I can show this to my daughter.
You can.
This would give nightmares to somebody less trained in the arts perhaps.
Now,
But
come on, you just gotta push a little bit. Push a little bit.
I think probably a few weeks removed, I'll be like, oh, I don't remember it being that bad, and then I'll show it again and be like, oh, yep, sure was, absolutely was, but here we are.
Hey, but now that you've seen Valak, you can watch The Nun.
Oh, is that The Nun?
Yeah, that's what The Nun is.
No joke. Okay,
It's-
see, I knew Annabelle Creation was an offshoot. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, well, now I don't know if I can actually. Now that I know an entire movie,
It's got Demian Bashir in it.
sounds familiar.
You'll
I'll
recognize him. You will. Yeah, The Nun's all right. It's I don't have anything super negative to say about it. The novel thing about it though also is that because they wanted to, it got so weird because Thaisa Farmiga is in it, and like it was completely not cast. There was no nepotism in the casting.
Oh, interesting.
It was purely a, oh no, this actually works out. She was the right person for the role. And the person who plays Valak is the same actress.
Oh yeah, you told me to look that up too. Who
Bonnie
was it?
Aarons.
I never did.
Oh, I wanted you to look her up because I
Sure.
wanted you to see how much of how she is a very unique looking woman. And
They didn't put a lot of prosthetics on her. If I had to
no,
guess.
no. And I think that's part of it is just how they shot her. And it's kind of, a crazy, weird, like,
Good gosh, man. How that entire movie. I'm telling you, Juan, I mean, I'm late to the party, but Juan is, again, maybe my favorite. Like, maybe we'll move this into the nightmare. But I love the line he toes between maybe a popcorn movie. I don't even know if I'm using that correct, but like there's moments in The Conjuring 2 where like the music cues are literally talking about, because it's in London, so there's lots of like London Calling and stuff like that.
Always,
like he's
yeah.
so on the nose,
yeah.
but it works. Like
Sure.
he makes it work. Also in this movie that is so serious and scary at times, I can't think of another filmmaker that does it like him right now.
I think,
honest.
but I think popcorn film is right. Like, I don't think you're wrong. These movies do well at the box office. They're made for a wide audience to be scared.
Right.
Like, I mean, think about it. Like these are movies you're watching with your daughter that you're thinking about showing your kid. How much of a wider audience can you get than we're trying to make? So you've got that. I mean, but he's also making really good, scary horror movies that are mainstream horror movies.
Extremely competent ones at that.
Right,
Like he
yeah.
is a master at the craft, and that's why I'm kind of going the Wes Craven route, because same thing. Like he was a director and a half, almost before he became the horror master, or however that goes.
Sure.
It just seems ingrained in him. So,
but this is like it's the case where he is so good at the blending the genre boundary, where he doesn't, these movies are not the types of movies where horror hounds are the only ones that are going to watch it, right? Like, this is a movie that, again, you're going to show to your kids. This is a movie that definitely has been shown at sleepovers, right? Like, people are like, we have to watch it. That's what this is. And that's that for it to be that, not only competent, not only well made, not only scary, but something that I think as a at least the first three, I mean, the first two definitely, they're going to stand the test of time in terms of horror films. These are going to be movies
absolutely.
that, and even to the point where, funny enough, there's a show on Shudder right now it's every Wednesday, and it's called the 101 Scariest Moments in Film. So of course it's like the most arbitrary thing in the world. But one of the moments that it was very recent, very low on the list too, like 39, 38 of all time, is the clap scene from The Conjuring. How utterly horrifying that is.
That was just about the moment, one of maybe two, if not the moment that made me want to be like, okay, I got to show this to my daughter. Because it's just straight up scary, and not in the way, like, it's not a jump scare. It's not everything around it. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, no, man. I mean, popcorn movie, sure. Horror when I talk about this being a great year for horror, it really is for people like me that are just super into the genre. There are a ton of movies that cross the genre that are doing really, really well. You know, Smile is doing great at the box office this past month, and I can't wait to see it. That seems great.
Stuff, yeah.
The Black Phone, did well. The Barbarian has done very well, but then you've got things like Terrifier 2 that are just like, horror's in a great spot right now, and James Wan and the popcorny nature of those things certainly helps in every respect.
I gotcha. Yeah,
these things on screen because it brings people back to the theater.
Great point. I was going to say The Conjuring 2 also doesn't, because I think my main fear going in was that it was going to ratchet it up in kind of some of the wrong ways. Like maybe it is more bloody than the last one, et cetera, but it's not. Like it does ratchet it up, but it's like all the stuff that made the first good. Like, yeah, the witch is probably objectively a little freakier than anything still in the first movie, even the vomit scene or whatever. But yeah, The Conjuring 2 just ratchets up everything you would want to be ratcheted up. There's a few, they're not nonsensical, but there's a few more monsters. There's the skinny man that doesn't necessarily figure in. They kind of build
the crooked man.
The crooked man. You're right. That's right. Which is kind of just seems like a fun little creature feature in the middle that doesn't necessarily apply to too much, but also very, very well written. Now that we're talking a little bit about the story, like the way it's plotted and paced, also great. So yeah, Conjuring 2 was a lot of fun, I say.
But then, because you were talking about the blending of CGI at one point, and then because we were going to migrate into Nightmare on Elm Street, and
that was going to be my next question. Do you want to use that?
Yeah, no.
As your?
Okay. I would love to talk about this because I hadn't seen it in a long time. I hadn't seen it pretty much since it released, and there are aspects to this movie that I really like, and then there is the rest of the movie.
What do you really like?
What I
am only halfway through it, so not spoiler wise, but just my opinion wise. Keep that in mind.
What I do really like is I do really like Jackie Earle Haley.
Yes.
In general.
Okay.
Good call. Particular, I like that he gave Freddy something super unique in that he gave him a little bit of a tick or a twitch, kind of, where he's walking around and he does the thing with the blades. He sits there and he goes with his fingers. He's like the first time. I
got one or two of those so far, but
first time we see him, he does it, and he does it in almost every scene. He and it's a little thing. It's a tiny thing, but I really love the sound of it and the look of it. But man, beyond that, just about everything else in this movie, the look of Freddy is terrible, especially because they went so overboard on the CG with it. And I recognize they said the goal with this version of Freddy's makeup was they wanted him to look more like an actual burn victim. So they went to burn victim photos, and they found all these photos and kind of tried to figure out how can we turn the Freddy we know into this Freddy. And for the very, it just doesn't work. It looks terrible. Especially when the hat comes off and you finally see him full face.
Okay. I haven't got to that point. Yeah,
dude,
everything.
It is bad. Yeah. It's so bad.
Well, you said CGI. Is there some CGI? Is it not
prosthetics? You'll see it. Yeah. They clearly did some digital work on the prosthetics at some point. There's just a bunch of every piece of CGI in this movie is badly done. Like there is no good CGI.
The one piece of CGI I have seen is the scene where he's coming through the wall over the bed.
And that is the most infuriating thing for me.
Ugly as sin. And forgive the expression.
When you finish the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, not only are you going to just have a grander appreciation for the original, but you're also going to say, how the hell did this movie look cheaper and worse in every respect than the 1984 movie in every respect? Like from the makeup to the effects to everything. everything about Craven's concept in the first movie, that scene when he comes through the wall over Nancy as she's asleep is one of my favorite visuals.
It's iconic. Yeah, which, I mean, they were born to fail in a way, but still take any frame from either one and compare them to each other. And we're not even talking just CGI here, because yeah, CGI looks bad, but how it's shot, take any frame from either and you'll see which one it has. I don't know the director from the remake, so I don't no shade, I guess, but you'll see who the craftsman is. And again, it's Wes Craven. Again, it's an iconic moment. Maybe they were born to fail, but it is. Yeah. When I saw that, I kind of, actually, it's not even true. In the beginning of the credit scene where they show a picture of the kids at Badham School or Badham School or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they return and show cutouts of Bad and School right next to each other. I'm like, oh no, tell me this isn't that movie. And it is. It's 1,000,000% that movie. It's more of maybe a, see, this is the other thing. I wouldn't call Craven's a teen drama. This just feels like a teen drama. You know, this feels like a bad
CW show, man. It feels like a bad CW movie or something.
Yeah. Also because it's fairly humorless from the very start. And man, the Freddy movies are horrifying. They're horror movies, but they're, how would you even explain this? They're brighter in a way. You know, there's a levity to them. And I don't know if it's the kids or it's been a while since I've seen the first, and I'll probably have to go back, but I don't know if it's just because they are literally happier on screen or whatever it is.
Oh,
but this is just
probably
dour from moment one. They're like, they move so quickly into the Freddy stuff too. This movie obviously is made in a post Nightmare on Elm Street world, but it doesn't try to do anything to recreate or it's very much aware of that fact. So instead of it coming across as something that was carefully done or seeking to maybe update the idea or whatever in some way, it comes across as a movie that's like slapped together because you all get it, right? Like, you know, like we all know this, right? Like, I don't have to really go into it, do I?
And then okay, so you haven't gotten to the part where maybe the most interesting portion of the movie comes when you get to see Jackie Earle Haley being chased by all the family, by the parents. So we get instead of the brilliant Wes Craven having the drunk mother drunkenly tell Nancy, we cornered him in a room and we burned him. That's what they did. She tells her that in a drunken stupor because of everything that's going on. She's just put bars up on the windows. Nancy is horrified of what's going on. Her friends are being killed. Now her mother drunkenly tells her about Fred Krueger. No such interest here. This is totally we're just going to straight up show you. So, and here was the interesting thing about the first Nightmare on Elm Street. This is maybe, I think, it's controversial in a sense. What is Freddy? What is Freddy? Freddy was supposed
he's a pedo child rapist or whatever.
He's supposed to be a child, some kind of a child killer, a pedophile. The parents found him and killed him. We never know for a fact that he was the pedophile. Nothing is ever given any piece of evidence other than somebody said. And that's
not explicit. It's speaking of the first movie, right?
Right,
which is the original, right?
Which I think is so interesting because then it makes his revenge also that much more interesting. Is he finishing the job, or is he now taking revenge because he was blamed and he was at the school? He knew the kids, but he didn't do. So we never get that. It's a weird, ambiguous thing. Yes, we're more likely supposed to think he was that, but it's ambiguous at best. Because it's a he said, she said thing. And the only reason we absolutely are going to believe Nancy's mom is because he's literally killing the kids. But the motivation, again, we don't know. There's zero. Like, they do not, no. The motivation is specific. He just wants to kill the kids because he was doing it before and the parents killed him.
Yeah, that's pretty apparent up front. Like, all of his attacks, he's like jumping on top of the girl. In fact, maybe the guy too, for that matter. Yeah, it's not a lot left to the imagination. In fact, this is the weirdest thing. there's not a lot left to the imagination, but also in all of these early visions of Freddy, it's ADR'd in this really strange way. You don't see his face. So it is kind of, to me, the antithesis of what Craven did, because while crafting that world where what's a dream and what's reality, Krueger occupied real space, no matter what it was, right?
Right.
What this movie does is kind of put him into this ethereal, like it makes all of his, again, early on in the film, like it sounds like this might change somewhat.
No, it does not. So the whole movie revolves around the micro nap thing, which is, again, the stupidest thing where they literally explain you're micro napping, so you're awake but you're dreaming because your brain has to. Well. And so he's sitting there like it is, the whole movie is the diner bit.
Well, great. Well, what it does so far is it takes all that away. Like it's like Krueger exists in the dream world, period. Like I don't have any question. He's just an ethereal presence because that's how he's shot, how he's treated, how he sounds. It's the complete opposite of what made it so cool, what made him so cool in the original. But I'll probably still finish it because finish
it because so the movie does become the movie. Okay, so the first film becomes an exercise in Nancy trying to figure out how to defeat Freddy.
Right. Which is also why it's so compelling, because there are rules.
Right.
And they can, right? Like even if he comes back, like you get invested in that way.
In this, they kind of figure it out in similar ways, but then it becomes an exercise in them realizing, oh, Freddy isn't trying to kill the two of us. Freddy's trying to get us to find his lair that nobody else knew about in the burned out building that has all this stuff and
Oh, I have zero confidence that, because the first one was made made by a failing, or whatever, quote unquote failing, Freddy, or New Line was the house that Freddy built, right? Like they were on the way out and Freddy blew the walls off everything. I don't expect that they thought there was going to be 9 Nightmare on Elm Streets or whatever it was. So the first Nightmare on Elm Street always will be more of a confined or self-contained thing, whereas this new one, they let's launch the franchise again, right? There's zero chance that they wouldn't have done, like, I didn't expect this in any way to wrap up in any good way at all.
The movie is it's so unsubtle in every respect too. It's just
bad school.
It's infuriating. Yeah, it is. It's infuriating.
All right.
It's not a good movie.
Well, there's a nice group of movies. You got any others you want to talk about?
Do you got any others?
No, I do, but I don't whatever. Yeah. And no, I don't have any others to talk about, Matt.
Okay. Then I won't talk about anything either.
Okay, show over.
And instead, we'll wait until next week and we'll talk about The Innkeepers.
The Innkeepers podcast at bookclubformovies.com. Again, Facebook and Twitter. Again, Patreon. So, thank you. That would be, of course, patreon.com/bookclub4movies. So, you can find it there. We'll see you all next week.
You especially, though. Bye!
Glorious.